We're never going to change the name of the Washington Redskins. And I think from a bottom line perspective, what it means is tradition, what it means is competitiveness, what it means is honor.
Never say never. Washington's NFL team is changing its name under major financial pressure from corporate sponsors like FedEx. As the Washington Post points out tonight, while there is considerable evidence that Native American and progressive elites wanted the change, a majority, possibly a large majority of Native Americans themselves had no specific problem with the Redskins name or logo. Some worry the underlying original message of justice for people like George Floyd earlier this year, that message is now getting lost in the resulting protests and cancel culture.
What's happening now, we turn it into a circus. We're going to spend all our time, instead of talking about racial equality and racial justice and economic justice, we spend all our time worried about who's kneeling and who's not kneeling, what things are being said on buses, what's being said on jerseys. I think we're missing the point. My concern is this turning this thing into a circus instead of trying to do some good stuff.
Let's bring in former NFL safety and GOP congressional candidate Burgess Owens. Good to have you back with us tonight.
Same as Shannon. Looking forward to it.
Okay, so let's start there. Charles Barkley, a huge NBA star, sports star in his own right, now saying, listen, the original message was about what they view as inequality and police injustice and brutality, the George Floyd case. We've branched off into so many other places now with renaming things, cancel culture, taking down statues. Some people think some of that's very positive. Some of it is getting too far off the path that we're losing the message about George Floyd, his life, and others who've been in the same situation and have sadly lost everything and lost their lives. What do you think about where we are in this stew of different messages now?
Well, a couple of things. It never has really been for the left, George Floyd. They've been trying to find a place to divide us, and this has been a good spot for them. I'll say the thing about people like Charles, myself. Now, Charles is a Democrat, I'm a Republican. Guess what? We love our country, and we both have what I call common sense and critical thinking. And I think that's where America is going to approach this. They're going to look at this bigger picture, and see just what they are truly drawn toward. And it's not destructiveness. It's not tearing down buildings and burning up businesses. It's coming together and being harmonious. I'll say this also about this Redskins thing. This has been a progressive goal for years. This is not something new. They just continue to go at it. Ask yourself, what have they done for the American Indian over these last 5, 6 years, whatever it's been? They still have the most poverty, suicide, alcoholism, unemployment, illiteracy, all the things that bring misery. These people have done nothing for those people because they don't care about the people. Just like BLM, which is based on Marxism, do not really care about black lives, all black lives. So I think Americans are going to get it. And we're just not into hatred and destructiveness. We're drawn toward freedom, opportunity. And so we're going to do the right thing. Now that the gray is gone, we see what we really have is a very, very dark leftist and a very positive, uplifting, hopeful America on the right with President Trump.
Okay. So let's talk about this specific issue with regard to the Redskins. Raymond Halbritter, who is a representative of the Oneida Indian Nation, said this today. Right now, the Washington team's name is a racial slur. That's what we asked them to change, and that's what they're changing. There are those who are very skeptical about why Dan Snyder is doing this now. The Washington Post says the biggest lesson is the power of money. Seeing that the protests were prompting big companies to speak out against racism, 6 money management firms drafted a letter calling on FedEx, Nike, and Pepsi to take a public stand against the team's name. They asked other investment managers to sign on as well. Within a week, they had more than 85 firms representing more than $600 billion in assets. So we know there are those within the Native American community who found that this was a slur. They were hurt and offended by this. That's been going on for a long time. But this piece in the Washington Post says it looks like it's really the financial pressure that finally got to Dan Snyder. What do you think?
Well, first of all, over 90% of American Indians are okay with the name. They see it as a place of pride, to be honest with you. So it never has been the American Indians, those behind the curtains. We have people like Nike. What we're seeing, Shannon, is we're seeing the result of decades of leftists teaching our kids that are now running the show. You have these folks on boards of Nike, wherever they might be, across the board, that either they're clueless in terms of what we're fighting against, which is Marxism, or they're complicit. I personally think they're complicit because it really is about the dollar bill. With Nike and NFL, just remember this, it's all about China. It's all about China. They want to make sure they get there and make sure they get their billions of dollars from $1.6 billion of people versus the 300 million people here in America. They know their revenue's going down here. They need to get a bigger place. So if we understand the bigger picture, leftists care about power and money more than America and patriotism. If we remember that, we'll know where our enemy is. And that, again, the Democrats, Independents, and Republicans can come together and realize we're fighting for our culture, our future, and our kids. And that means we're on the same team. And we're against those who fight against it, which is the leftists that we're now, Marxists, that now seem to be running the show in so many corporations today.
Yeah, listen, I like your idea of talking about independents, Democrats, and Republicans working together on things that are good for the country. Hard for them to find a place of agreement, but we know that they can do it when it's what's best for the people of this country. So, Burgess Owens, thank you for being with us. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you, Shannon. We'll talk to you later. All the best.